That's great.
All right. It's all yours, Angelo.
All right. Hello. Welcome to the Human Rights Commission. My name is Angelo. I am the chair, and my pronouns are he and him. And I am resident of Ward 2. And as always, let's do some popcorn style introductions. Just pass it when you're done introducing yourself. All right, Mike.
Hi, I'm Mike Waters. I live in Ward 7 and my pronouns are they and them, and I'll pass it to Kelsey.
Awesome. Thanks, Mike. My name is Kelsey. My pronouns are she and her, and I live in Ward 1, and I will pass it to Debbie.
Hi, I'm Debbie Aguilar. I'm a lieutenant with the Salem Police Department, and I'm the liaison between the Police Department and the Human Rights Commission. And I'll pass it to Kathy.
Hello, my name is Kathy Ostrand-Ponchen. I'm a resident of South Salem, just south of Ward 4. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I will pass it to Dr. Brown.
Thank you. My name is Urban Brown. I live in Ward 5, and as always, I enjoy being here and being a part of this team. And I'm going to pass it to Tricarico. Hello.
Oh, you're on mute. Yeah.
My laptop died right as the meeting started, so I had to switch to my phone really quick. Thank you.
I know that feeling.
Thank you. My name is Tricarico. I'm a resident of Ward 2, and my pronouns are they, them. Leah, have you gone yet? Okay, I'll pass it to Leah.
Hi, I'm Leah, she, her, hers, and I am just an observer today. Who hasn't gone? Anybody?
I think just Gretchen.
Oh, Gretchen.
Awesome. Hey, everybody. Gretchen Bennett, she, her, hers, staff to the commission. Nice to see everybody.
All right. Do you have any public comment tonight, Gretchen?
We do not. Well, unless anyone here would like to make public comment, I didn't receive any in advance.
Okay, and anybody like to do any public comment tonight? Okay. We're going to skip the consent calendar for now because we won't have a quorum to do that. And then we can move on to bias crime update, Lieutenant Aguilar.
And I've been having problems with my wireless, so if I start to stall, I apologize. I'll try turning my camera off. We had 3 bias crimes that occurred since the last meeting. The first one was on April 20th, and it occurred in Southeast Salem. A customer went into a store, was upset about a store policy. During a conversation with an employee at the store, the customer used homophobic slurs and then actually spit on the employee. Police, and then the customer left. So the police responded. The officer does have probable cause to arrest when we identify the suspect, the customer, but the customer has not been located yet. So that's still under investigation. On May 6th, we had an incident in Central Salem. Occurred early in the morning. Sorry, I'm reading off my laptop. 2 victims were walking and were approached by multiple suspects unknown to them. The victims were asked about their sexual identity and then were attacked by the suspects. During the attack, several items belonging to the victims were stolen. Victims were able to get away. Suspects fled. At this point, we don't have any suspects in custody, so that's still under investigation as well. And then the third incident happened the next day on May 7th, also in the Central Salem area. also occurred early in the morning. Victim was approached by one suspect who was known to him, generally known to him, not well, but he knew who he was. That suspect was with several unknown suspects, and at some point, an assault occurred. The victim was attacked by the suspects, and then the suspects were using homophobic slurs during that attack. Suspects eventually left, and the victim reported the crime to us. So that's still under investigation while we're trying to make contact with those suspects. So those are the 3 of the bias crimes. We also had some bias incidents. We had 2 bias incidents reported. One was on April 19th. It was in Northeast Salem. Motorists reported to us that they were being followed by another motorist. No crime was committed, but the motorist that was following the other, I guess we would call it the victim motorist, the other driver was making derogatory comments about the victim motorist's race. While they would follow, they'd pull up, they'd make a comment, and then the motorist would continue on, and then the next car, the car would come back up and make another comment. And that happened for a little bit until they were able to make it down to the police department, and then the second vehicle finally left. And then the second bias incident, I'm classifying it as a bias incident. It happened on April 27th. And it was a fight between 2 groups of kids and it was on the playground, because of the age of the children. So during the fight, one group of children used a racial slur against the other group of children. Because of the fight, some of the children were referred to the juvenile department, but at this time, I don't know, because of the age, they were pretty young. I don't know if juvenile is going to move forward with anything, and I don't know if juvenile would charge them with any kind of bias crime because they were pretty young, or if they'll go another route and do something else. So I'm putting that as a bias incident right now until I know what the juvenile department would do. And those are all that I have for this time frame. So I don't know if there's any questions.
All right, if I hear no questions, we can move on. Gretchen, any complaints / concerns of discrimination?
Not in jurisdiction. I took a couple of calls, but both were from outside the area. So I provided a little bit of information and referral, but nothing from Salem.
Okay, thank you. Our next item is our recommendations to City Council. And Gretchen, do you have any any idea of how we can move on with this? Because we don't have quorum necessary to vote on it.
You don't. And I just did a quick double checking in my notes. I know nonprofits in Oregon, if they meet certain specifications, can do vote by email, but I don't think that we can as a city entity. I just double checked my notes, and it just says you can't do email deliberations. I'm not completely confident on that, though. I was wondering if I could offer you an alternative and allow those who aren't here tonight to submit a vote by email, but I'm not confident that I can. I can certainly double check on that and let you know, but I think absent a quorum, you would just have to append it to the next meeting. You can certainly still talk about the document in case there's changes people would like to make, but I don't think we have the ability to vote.
Yeah, because I think it's pretty much ready. And by what I saw, I feel like everybody agrees with this document and wants to send it to council, but we just don't have quorum. And it's like the document's ready, but we can't send it to council. And so it's a little frustrating because they can they can have it by tomorrow if we've had the votes today. And so I don't know, I'm thinking what we can do about this.
We schedule a special meeting for this and try to maybe very gently remind people. I mean, I know folks are busy. I want to be empathetic. But yeah, I echo that frustration of a lot of people in this call have worked really hard on that document. And we're very excited about getting this done. So I'd like to send out that if possible.
Yeah, and I agree. As I said, it's pretty much ready, and I don't feel like it's fair to people who have worked hard to delay it for a month, since it's ready to go. And so I would echo that sentiment of having a special meeting. I don't know what other commissioners think about that idea.
I'm also just trying to see if I can reach people right now. I'll send out another note to folks encouraging attendance while we're gathered as well.
I know Commissioner Marchbanks is traveling due to a death in the family, so she probably won't be available, but would be willing to do a special meeting.
Yeah. Well, we certainly can do that.
Gretchen, is the document very different from last month's iteration of it? Because I understand about not having deliberation over email, but I also recall that we did some documents a couple of years ago where we got them substantively approved within the meeting that we were in, and then just had like a quick email, and it wasn't a deliberation so much as a, hey, this is ready to go, yay or nay. Is that not possible? We still have to have an in-person, you think?
What I remember about that, and maybe I might be remembering wrong, Mike, is that basically people voted at the meeting, and then it was substantially complete in the meeting, but then we were making edits still, and we sent it out to say to people, okay, does this look like what you understood it to be?
And we didn't vote in the last meeting.
We didn't actually vote at the last meeting.
Okay.
We made some changes to the document at the last meeting, which hopefully are reflected in what you see tonight. Yeah, but we didn't actually take a vote.
Well, yeah, I'm super in favor of a special meeting then. I'd love to get this in front of council. I echo the other commissioners on that.
I'm in favor of that too. Didn't you try and do a special meeting a couple months ago and we're not able to get one set up? I mean, I hope that you're able to set one up.
Yeah.
So that we can move on this.
I'm pausing there too, because I'm like, oh, that can be tough too, but
Yeah.
I can sure do my best. I guess what I would do is send out a doodle poll and encourage people to respond quickly and grab a date that works for the majority, and then, get that going. I'm happy to do that.
Yeah, so I think that's what we will do. Gretchen, send a doodle poll as we usually do, and see when we can do a special meeting. Let's see. Do we have any preference of do we do it in 2 weeks, 3 weeks? What do we think? Next week? Do you have any thoughts on that?
As soon as possible, whatever that ends up being.
Okay. So Gretchen, if you can do like 3 days next week, and then 3 days in 2 weeks, and then see which of those is most voted on.
Will do.
All right. Do you have any questions on the document? Because we can't vote on it, but if you want to take a look at the document, if you have any questions, we can certainly do that.
I just like can't do uncomfortable silence. I thought it looked really good, and I like the changes that were made in response to last meeting.
Thank you, Mike. I was actually going to call on you because you always have insightful thoughts about our discussion. So thank you. Anybody else?
I was gonna say the same thing. I think it looks great. I think it's ready to go.
Dr. Brown, do you have any thoughts on the document if you've seen it?
For some reason, I knew you were going to call on me. I was going to be like, nah, just keep on going. Mike's already talked. We're good. No, again, it's been a long year, right? I think those of us who are on this call, we have gone back and forth a gazillion times working on this document. So it's a team effort, and I'm very thankful to be a part of this team. I think Gretchen and I both, we were in a meeting last week and the week before dealing with the budget with the city. And so this document came up in regards to just the hard work that the commissioners are doing and have done. And so I like it. So thumbs up for me. I wish I could be like a pseudo voter and kind of vote for those of us who are not here, but I can't, maybe next time. But yes, Chair Angela, I do think it's a great document, and hey, team effort. So keep on moving ahead.
Thank you, Dr. Brown, and thank you for your help as well. I know it was a team effort, but everybody had a piece in this document, so thank you. Okay, so if everybody thinks it's great, I think we will schedule a special meeting for either next week or the week after that, and we will vote on this. And so we can move on to task force update format changes. I requested this change because I've noticed that for some of our task forces, we don't have any updates. And so it was kind of frustrating having it on the agenda and then not having any updates. And so hopefully this new format of only putting it on the agenda if there's any updates is good for everybody. Hey, Gretchen, I think I said that okay, but did I miss anything?
Nope, that's great.
Okay, and speaking of task forces, we can move on to our task forces. Awareness, Mike.
Well, big update from awareness this month because our community survey on discrimination is out. It's been posted on the city's Facebook page, both in their English Facebook page and Spanish Facebook page. Community volunteer has worked with the students to collect a number of surveys from sheltered population as well. So several paper surveys were distributed last weekend, and I understand that that went pretty well. And I believe it is being shared out with some community organizations, although I'm not sure if that's all the way done. What I do know is that we have currently 393 responses to the survey, and that is a big uptick from last year where we had 217. So I'm feeling really good about the response rates, and the survey is open until the 20th, so we still have yet more time to get more responses. So I'm really feeling good about the level of participation. As well as I just want to acknowledge just like the great efforts of the awareness task force, all the feedback that went into creating a really good survey. It's a little bit shorter of a survey, which is harder. It's harder to make a survey short than it is to, make it long and very ask every question under the sun. And I think that our group did a really good job of getting the survey down to a manageable level so that we could get more people taking it, thinking of the different mechanisms for getting it done. Really excited that we put it out over the Spanish Facebook to see if we can improve the number of Spanish speaking respondents as well, so that it matches a little more closely to the demographics of our city. So just overall feeling really good about the survey. Does anybody have any questions or comments?
Mike, I thought it was neat I noticed that the Salem Reporter sent out the invitation to take the survey to their customers or their subscribers.
Oh, that's cool. I hadn't seen that. That's very exciting.
Yeah.
Of course, they covered the survey last year when the results came out. So that bodes well for getting additional coverage this year when we see the results of the survey. Yay. Oh, that's cool.
I went out with a group on Saturday to help ask for the unsheltered population. It was a really good experience. And I like the format. I didn't see last year's survey, but I thought this year's was easy to read, and I think we got quite a few responses. So, and I'm seeing it shared a lot on Facebook in various groups that I follow. So hopefully the number of responses will go up. Yeah.
That's so great. You know, we had really intentional conversations about making the survey easy to read. So I'm really glad to hear that it was easy for people to understand out in the field. We changed some words to make it more simple.
Yeah, Mike, I think it's a great survey. I think my only question is why is the time frame so short? Is it just because of the class? Is that why?
Yeah, it's really you know, we have this class that we can work with, and it's all volunteer, of course, from the students who are getting credit for it, but we have to do it within their term. So it was important to get the survey out pretty quickly. And then we have this window of time, but as well as you don't want to leave a survey out there forever either. You want to kind of get that moment in time snapshot of what people are thinking. And then we'll repeat the survey again. This is our third time doing it. I feel like the survey gets better every time. I feel a lot more confident in what we did with this survey than we did in 2020 and in 2017. And even though we have a good number of questions that are still comparable, I think that we're just making them easier to understand as well. So we have good comparable data, but we also have a little bit improved survey tool. So yeah, it's a good question. It goes with the students. They will be with us on the 9th, I believe it is. So that's our next HRC meeting if we don't, our next regular meeting, aside from the special meeting that we're hoping to schedule, but they'll be there to deliver the results. So by closing it on the 20th, they have time to build, you know, their presentation and their results to share with us.
All right, thank you, Mike. Any other questions regarding awareness? No? All right, I think we can move on to equity lenses, Tricarico.
Yeah, thank you. So because we wrapped up the lens and we'll be sending that with our whole city report, I'm hoping to transition to focusing on Chapter 97 next. So to those who are new to the commission, if you'd like to join us, I would love to have more members. You can contact Gretchen, but we would really like to get focused on that. So Chapter 97, I know one of the big things we had discussed in the past is adding the status of unsheltered as a protected class. I could really use some help, you know, gathering information about that, looking at what other cities have done to make that possible. I think it was like Minnesota or somewhere that did it. So if you're interested and you want to help out with that, you know, please reach out to Gretchen and join us at our next meeting, which I think we still need to schedule. Yeah, Gretchen? Okay. So I'll connect with Gretchen and we'll probably do a doodle poll to see when people are available and get that going.
Gretchen, can you add me to that list?
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tricarico. Any questions? All right, hearing none. Mike, with the LGBTQIA plus intersectional task force updates?
So we continued to discuss the Safe Spaces project at the LGBTQIA plus intersectional task force. And we were really fortunate to have a guest come, a community member. And I don't know how he stumbled upon the work we were doing, but he made a number of really great suggestions. And I think if I can try to sum up, because he had a lot of suggestions, but if I can try to sum up the kind of the main thrust of it, main takeaway that I got from it anyway was that as we look to have this program for businesses to opt in to say that they are safe spaces here in Salem, that we also need to focus on the city being an enthusiastic participator in the program. And he suggested that whatever we do in terms of signage and decals and those kinds of things for businesses, that we ask the city if they'd be willing to post some of that similar information in parks, in other city-owned buildings and properties, so that the message of Salem being a safe space is actually, both supported by business community that volunteers, but also by the city itself. So it was a really good suggestion. I think it started to tiptoe into the continuing conversation about how this project is going to need a little bit of budget in order to be viable with all the things that we want to do with it. And I think the takeaway that I got from the meeting was that we just need to build out the proposal for it a little bit more and then bring it to this broader commission, I think, for discussion and seeing if we want to move forward with it as a budget request, perhaps for next year. But I thought it was it was just really good idea, that this isn't just a licensing program for businesses, but it's something that the city is part of and supports. So really good community feedback, and it was cool. The other thing that we touched on briefly at the task force, and I'll need to send you an update email about this, Gretchen, was that we wanted to talk about supporting some additional events for the LGBTQIA plus intersectional community throughout the year. We noted that we always do Trans Day of Remembrance in November, that Trans Day of Visibility actually took place in March, and we didn't have any kind of citywide recognition for that. There's other events like National Coming Out Day. There's also LGBTQIA groups that do their own events, such as Pride. So we wouldn't want to do anything that conflicted with what our community organizations are doing, of course, but that it seemed like we might want to, as a task force, look at some other events that would be of citywide interest. So that's something that we want to talk about at our next meeting. And I think that was everything from LGBTQIA. Did I miss anything, Carrico?
Yeah, Mike, I had a question for you regarding the Safe Spaces project. So I know when it comes to businesses, you guys were discussing a way to hold them accountable, as we can say. How would we do that in like a public park or like the citywide? Because we know that certain groups sometimes occupy our parks, and so we know how would we go by enforcing that.
Sure. Well, I think for the city to take it on, it would be a little bit of a different way of being a supporter, meaning that it probably wouldn't look like the city needing to re-up every year and participate in training or that kind of thing. Although it could, it could involve that kind of thing. But with the city as a participator, you could still have the signage. You could still have the public awareness campaign around reporting hate crimes. recognizing that we very recently have had some issues in our public parks. I think that it is a bigger conversation than probably we can have right at this moment. I mean, I think that there's some things that we need to talk about with the city before something like this could get implemented. One of the great ideas was not just to rely on signage, but to actually have some events at local parks where there would be like a Human Rights Commission table set up, for example, just on a normal busy day, a normal busy Saturday, to provide public awareness and education. So I guess the city portion of it would be more around that public awareness and education. The business portion of it, I think, still needs that that sort of licensure piece that we've kind of talked about. It's not really a license. What's the word? Oh, the word's going to escape me. When they participate and we tell them that they are good participants, what is that?
Sponsors?
What's that?
Sponsors?
Yeah. Participators anyway, the badge and the decal that you get when you sign up for the same Safe Spaces project, that the cities would be a little bit different to manage. It wouldn't be like we would be asking the same thing of the city as we did of a business. But of course, we expect that the city is going to be a good champion. And I think that the community members' idea was that you can't just ask your community's businesses to do this if the city's not also willing to be that kind of a participant. So I don't know. I feel like I said a lot of muddly words in there, but did you get a couple things out of it?
No, I did, Mike. Thank you. And no, it's the city portion of the plan is just getting started, so it's not concrete. And so, yeah, thank you. I understood that. Any more questions?
It seems to me like our task force could meet maybe 1 or 2 more times about it and continue to flesh out the proposal, and then I think it's ready. I think we're pretty close to feeling like we're done with it. Does that seem right, Jacarico? Like a couple more meetings from now?
Yeah, I was going to say another aspect of the parks could be working with the park volunteers too. I don't know how many parks have that, but I know Bush Park does. I know some of the volunteers. And I think that could be another way to, help people feel safer at our parks, because that's really a concern, especially Angela, because you're so right. Who do we even hold accountable? Like, it's not the city's fault that people are using the parks in this way, but I do think it is partially their responsibility to put an end to it.
Yeah, agreed. And Gretchen, I had a question for you. So when the task force, takes this idea to the General Commission, we vote on it, and then what? No, what happens after the Human Rights Commission votes on it?
Well, then I suppose we begin implementation. I think that the task force saw themselves as being the primary, maybe coordinating committee, for lack of a better phrase, for receiving the business applications and considering issues that might arise. For example, the financial ask, we would kick up to the city and explore whether or not they'd be able to put some budget to it. And then the work we would do out of the task force. And I remember the task force members said that members of the commission are always welcome to pop in if they wanted to join that particular part of the conversation. They're always welcome. But I basically, after everybody supports it, we would just begin the implementation. There's work to do in setting up. There was an idea of a resource. What's the word? Like a website that has a bunch of resources on it, so people who are working to implement and meet the spirit of the program would have access to things. And so there's some things to build out that we would get right to work on, I think.
And I don't want to speak for the whole task force, although there's not that many of us and half of us are on the call. But I think that we're enthusiastic about participating if the Broad Commission wants to advance it forward, and if budget gets approved and things like that. I think that the task force members are totally down for participating. That's the sense I get.
Yeah, because I'm assuming it's not a no, it doesn't cost a lot for this program to continue. I know you guys were talking about possibly hiring, an artist to design the decals and all of that. Again, I'm not sure how much this would cost, but I'm assuming that this program would be much lower than other things that the city is funding.
Yeah, we didn't think it was a lot of budget. Go ahead, Tricarico.
Yeah, the other thing I was going to say, I just saw in the paper that the city is budgeting for a position specifically focused on diversity, equity, and inclusion at the city. So we might be able to partner with that position as well. And that could be one of the things that they, work with us on. I mean, they're going to have a lot to do, but that would be a great starting point for that position, to get to know the city and the businesses and things like that. That could be a way that we interact with that position and support that position, because they'd probably be one of the people that we'd look to see, is the city, following the program as well, because I do think that accountability piece is important.
Thank you, Tricarico. And then let's see. Any more questions? Okay. Staff updates.
I don't have any this time, but I did put out a little tiny calendar this time. Barely anything on it, but I found a couple things.
All right, in our community calendar, let's see. Yeah, there's 2 events currently on there. Let's see. Looks like there's an event on the 25th of May titled Exploring Together, Supporting the LGBTQ Community. And then it looks like that's a digital event. Is that correct? And then Juneteenth on June 19th. And looks like we're waiting on details on that. Any other events that you might know of? All right, hearing silence. How about member remarks or announcements? Anybody has anything to say they would like to say? All right, so hearing none, just I think be on the lookout in your email for that special doodle poll, special what's the word? Special meeting. And yeah, I think that's it. If nobody else has anything, Gretchen, do you have anything?
Nope.
All right, so have this meeting